everyone, it's Tamara from Dr. Digi Stamps here with a card making tutorial using the fun new image Valentine Vivian. I'll be doing some Copic colouring and then a card making video. So let's get started with some colouring. So I've grabbed out my Misty as I'm wanting to do some extra stamping by using this set from Lawn Fawn. I just wanted a couple of envelopes floating around Vivian once I get him attached to the card front. So I'm just going to stamp these out twice. So I'll just place them on the front of my Misty. Then I'm going to grab my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is perfect for Copic colouring, and just get them stamped out. So I'll just show you the first two and then I'll just do the other two off camera. And I'll just do a quick video of me colouring up these envelopes. It's really quite easy. You just use a small amount of colour just to get a bit of shading to the envelopes, and then we'll just add some colour to both the hearts and also the stamps on the airmail stamp. So we'll just put a little bit of darker colour down the bottom and then blend that out with the 20. I've grabbed a white card base measuring 5.5 centimeters by 22 centimeters, scored at 11 centimeters, and I'm wanting to use the new hearts papers. I'm just using the white with the red hearts for the card today, and I'm just going to trim that up so that it fits perfectly and covers the entire front of my white card. So I've just grabbed out my Tim Holtz trimmer and I'll just cut that to size. So I'm just trimming off the edges and then just measuring out so that it measures the same as the card front, being 15.5 centimeters by 11 centimeters, and that will cover that front perfectly. So that fits perfectly, so I'll just get that glued on. With Dr. Digi's new Valentine release, there are also sentiments included, and I'm using the Be My Valentine sentiment with the letterbox, as I thought that would work perfectly with Vivian. I've grabbed a piece of scrap white cardstock and I'm wanting to just put a bit of ink behind Vivian just to ground him. So I've just grabbed out my Versacolor Scarlet ink cube and I'm just going to smear that onto the cardstock just to create a bit of a background for Vivian to sit against. So there's nothing really hard about this, just grab any kind of ink pad that you've got and just drag it across the cardstock. And it just gives you that little bit of pop of colour for your image to sit in front of. So that looks good. So we'll set that aside to dry. I wanted to add a little bit more interest to my red ink mark on the back of my white cardstock. So I've actually grabbed out a really old set that I've had for ages and I've never actually used, which is my Kaisercraft Postmarks Clear Stamp set. I thought it would work perfectly with the letter theme that's part of this image with Vivian. So I've wanting just to make a light mark with it, so I grabbed out my VersaFine Smoky Grey. I thought black might be a little bit too dark, so I'm just wanting to go with a lighter kind of colour with the Smoky Grey, but I will stamp that out twice so you do get a good impression of it. So we'll set that aside to dry. So I've got my card base and I'm just wanting this white cardstock to just kind of run to the center of the card. So I want to trim it up to be the exact length of the card base, which is 15.5 centimeters. So we've got those measurements already worked out, but then I'll just double check that that's the right length, which it is. So then I just want to trim up those sides, and we want to make sure we do it evenly both sides as we trim it down. So you'll see me go back a couple of times and just keep trimming little bits on either side just to make sure we're even all the time. So it is good to take your card front back to your card base and just make sure that it is the size that you want and it's evenly spaced on both sides of that cardstock. So I'm just measuring, but I think it needs a little bit more. So we'll take that back to the trimmer. And you just do this multiple times until you have the size that you're wanting. But as I said, always refer to your card base because you don't want to cut it down too narrow. So we'll cut a little bit on the other side, just checking again. But yeah, I think it needs a little bit on that side. So trim that down. And that looks good. So when I've placed this on the front of my cardstock, I just think it needs a little bit of a border. So I've just grabbed out a piece of scrap red cardstock that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to trim that up to be a border. So using my trimmer again, the sides are the right side, but we just want it to the same length as the card front, which is that 15.5 centimeters. So we've just trimmed that up, and yep, that just leaves the perfect border around. So that red cardstock actually measures 8.25 by 15.5 centimeters. So I've glued my white panel onto that card base so that you've got that nice little red border on either side. So we'll now attach that to the card base. So I'll just grab out my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, put a good coverage on that panel, and then again we'll just want to make sure that's centered to the middle of that card base. So we'll line that up, make sure we've got it the right side, and we'll glue that down. So I'm just wanting that postmark to be on the down side. I don't know why, it's just something I had in my head. So we'll just glue that down, making sure that's even on both sides and it's level top and bottom, and give that a good press. I've put some foam tape on the back of all my elements, so we'll stick down Vivian first, just lining him up in the middle of that red square. I'm just using my reverse tweezers, and we just want to make sure that he is perfectly centered before we give him a good press down. Then we'll grab out our sentiment, and I just kind of want that a little bit over his shoe and to the right hand side of the card, and give that a press. And then we'll just add our envelopes just scattered around him so that it kind of brings your eye back to the image of Vivian. So we'll just angle these as though they're floating up around him. He might be sending out lots of letters to all his girlfriends, the cheeky old man that he looks like. And we'll get that last one down just off to the side of the sentiment. Well, this is the finished card for this week. I think Valentine Vivian is such a gorgeous image, and he's so fun to colour up. I can't wait to see what everyone creates with him and who you give this gorgeous guy to for Valentine's Day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click the like button and leave a comment. And if you want to make sure you see any future videos from Dr. Digi, please hit the subscription button. I hope you have a great week. See you next time. Bye.